Hey friends, Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Hope that you're doing well. Every year it's the same thing. New fragrances come out and everybody just kind of reads the tea leaves. I think this one's doing well. I'm pretty sure people are buying it. Well, you don't have to wonder anymore because today I'm sharing with you the top 30 best-selling, most popular men's fragrances, period. I got the actual sales data, the true numbers for the entire sales, January through the end of December 2024, and I'm sharing that with you. Now, these rankings are specific to the United States, but I did get the numbers for Europe as well, so I'll share that in a future video. While there's a lot of things in common between what people are wearing in Europe and the US, there are also some really big differences too. Like, really big. And before we jump into the top 30, a few things that you need to know about, specifically how these are tabulated. So these are going to be retail sales. Gray market stuff doesn't count towards this. Brands really don't like gray market sales, discounters. So these are retail numbers. But for all intents and purposes, this is what everybody's buying, this is what everybody's wearing. Also, the way they group these is by flanker, and it's a little weird. So if a fragrance has an eau de toilette, an eau de parfum, and a parfum, that's considered the same thing. So if you have a fragrance that launches as an eau de toilette, then they come out with an eau de parfum and a parfum, all three of those are considered the same SKU, the same item as far as sales goes. But then if they come out with a flanker, Absolute, Elixir, even Le Parfum, not Parfum, but Le Parfum, that's considered something entirely different and it gets its own entry. So hopefully that makes sense. It'll make more sense as we go through. And I'm also gonna be letting you know as we go through some of the fragrances that dropped heavily over the last year and other ones that rose stupendously as well. Stupendous. Number 30, best-selling fragrance in the United States for the entirety of 2024, Polo Red. Yes, Ralph Lauren Polo Red, still extremely popular. Way more than you might expect. If you're really into fragrances, you'd be like, who is really out there buying this at full retail? The answer, a lot of people. Number 29, Le Male de Parfum by Jean Paul Gaultier. This was not even in the top 30 the year before. It moved up over 25 spots to 29th place. Now, a lot of you out there might go, I thought that would be higher. It gets a lot of hype. People talk about it all the time. You go to Fragrantica, it's one of the most popular fragrances of all time. And all of that is true, but in terms of what is actually selling at your retail stores, your Nordstrom, Macy's, Sephora, Ulta, etc., 29th. Which, don't get me wrong, that's still absolutely fantastic. Number 28 is one I didn't expect at all. Dolce & Gabbana's The One. Now you do have to keep in mind, this is the eau de parfum, and that's because the one eau de toilette and eau de parfum are basically combined with this entry, whereas Le Male de Parfum is just Le Male de Parfum. Again, that goes back to how they determine this. Apparently that's how it's always been. But if it is an eau de toilette, eau de parfum, parfum, and the name is the same, but then it's just the concentration that's changing, they count that as one entry. So the one eau de parfum and the one eau de toilette, that's one thing, but the one eau de parfum intense would be something separate. And this one actually moved up quite a bit. It was not in the top 30 and has not been in the top 30 for the past, ever since I've actually got my eyes on the data. So yeah, a comeback. Number 27, The Most Wanted Le Parfum by Azzaro. This is another one that moved up a lot, 15 spaces from last year to this year. And it's another one where you would think, well, it gets a ton of love. It's gotta be way up there, top 15. It's not, but it's still an amazing selling fragrance, extremely popular. And rounding out these first 5 fragrances, Polo Blue by Ralph Lauren, which actually Polo Blue and Polo Red both fell versus what they had sold the previous year. So again, this is 2024 sales data. In 2023, both of these did way better. So they've actually kind of had the bottom fall out a little bit. This one dropped 10 spots, I believe, and this one 11. So, yeah. Still though, when you consider how long Polo Blue has been for sale and frankly, how kind of pedestrian it is, that really sounds pinkies out, doesn't it? That sounds snooty. Pedestrian. Oh. But you know what I'm saying. It's like a standard fragrance. It's just a standard gym, sport, summertime scent. For how long this has been out, for it to still be selling this well, I'm sure they're okay with it. So as we work through these, I'm gonna be sharing with you fragrances that have fallen out of the top 30. And the first one of those I want to share with you is from Creed, and it is Millesime Imperial. Yes, believe it or not, Millesime Imperial in 2023 was a top 30 best-selling men's fragrance. That's in terms of value sold, not volume. I guess I should have clarified that at the beginning. This is value sold, not volume sold. Because we all know if it was volume sold, the number one would be Drakkar Noir. This sells roughly 52 billion units a year. Okay, maybe that's not true, but I'm still gonna roll with it. Yeah, Drakkar Noir, number one. Millesime Imperial, though, was kind of right at the end of the list in 2023 in terms of value sold, and it dropped like 6 places. So out of the top 30. Now the next one is gonna be a fragrance that every single one of you recognizes, which to be fair is probably everything on today's list. But before we jump to that one, I wanna give you guys a load of codes. And here they are. You can use these codes across a bunch of different websites to save yourself money. So we have fragrance discounters like JOMASHOP and the Perfume Box, also Gift Express, and then codes even for Lucky Scent and other stores as well that carry niche rather than your typical designers. So pretty much everything that you could want, you can find across all of those stores. Use those codes, save yourself some money. Number 25 is a fragrance that did drop year over year, about 5 spots, and it is Man Eau Fraiche. One thing I want you guys to be thinking of as you watch today's video and see how these all fell out in terms of rankings, look at what did well, look at what did bad, and then you can almost see, oh, that's probably why this happened or this happened. Did Eau Fraiche Extreme come out this year because Versace was hoping to kind of boost this fragrance back up again, considering it slipped down in 2024 sales? And if so, is that why they went kind of a different direction with Eau Fraiche Extreme instead of making it more like Eau Fraiche? So number 25, Versace Man Eau Fraiche, a fragrance that has stood the test of time. And I still think during spring, summertime, great release, you know, easy to wear, fresh, nice little tropical twist. It's good stuff. Number 24, Myself Le Parfum, which this one was a new release for 2024, so it did not have the entire year to gather up steam. What that means is, realistically, Myself Le Parfum probably would be higher up the list had it been out for the entire year, because it's going up against Eau Fraiche, which obviously was available the whole year. So even though this didn't have the entire year, it still sold more than this one. And then some of the fragrances that are after this one obviously had the entire year as well. So when you think about it that way, Myself Le Parfum, even more popular than you would assume. Also, a little extra info for you guys in terms of how the fragrances are grouped into families. The most popular style of fragrance for men in the US is Fougere by a good amount, and in second place, Amber. Not that probably anybody cares about that. The next one is a scent that actually sold better in 24 versus 23, and it is Bad Boy Cobalt by Herrera, which this right here is Carolina Herrera's best-selling fragrance, their most popular fragrance. It moved up about 5 spots versus the previous year. And it makes sense why. This stuff, a great mix of fresh, sweet, aromatic, a nice touch of classiness, super versatile, big compliment puller, good performance as well, and a big seller. In 22nd place, Luna Rossa Ocean, which actually fell year over year just a little bit, about 4 spots. And when it comes to Luna Rossa Ocean, the Eau de Toilette and the Eau de Parfum would be grouped together. Le Parfum would not. I know it's the weirdest thing. You would think, well, Le Parfum, right? But apparently you throw Le in front of it and it's like, whoop, that's different. And again, going back to what I was talking about just a little bit before, is this why we got Prada Paradigm this year, but not a new Luna Rossa / Luna Rossa Ocean? And also Prada L'Homme. Need one of those. Because with the women's sales, Paradox by Prada is a top seller. That stuff crushes. So obviously they were like, well, we're doing it over here, let's just do a men's version, but it maybe didn't hit quite so well. We'll see when this year's numbers come out. And then 21st place, moving up ever so slightly year over year, 1 Million Elixir by Rabanne. Yeah! Oh, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. 1 Million Elixir, very sweet, vanilla forward, but has a nice touch of rose and some other notes in there to balance it out a bit. Big compliment puller, great performance, and very popular. Before we move to the next one, another fragrance that fell year over year, Mont Blanc Legend. It fell a whopping 13 spots, which is rough for Mont Blanc. And you do have to consider, once again, Eau de Toilette and Eau de Parfum kind of going together there. So it sold much better the previous year. Part of that is possibly people buying it at discounters instead of full retail, especially as word gets out that typically those fragrances are marked off heavily. But that is another one that dropped quite a bit. Number 20, Acqua di Gio Profondo, which this one fell just a little bit year over year. I do wonder what it's gonna look like next year, if it stays kind of flat or actually moves up or falls, because they did come out with the eau de toilette, which is going to factor into the sales numbers for Profondo. So I would think that that would help boost it up, but I'm not sure how much. All that said, Acqua di Gio Profondo, absolutely fantastic. I love the way this stuff smells. Really great for spring and summer. Beating that out though, at number 19, Coach for Men, which actually fell year over year by 4 spots. A lot of people out there may be surprised at how well Coach for Men does, but in the US, this stuff sells extremely well. I mean, the presentation looks nice, and there are Coach stores kind of dotted all over the place. I wonder how many of these fragrance sales have been guys going into a Coach store with their wife or their girlfriend or something like that, and they're shopping for a bag, and the guys are just like, I'll take that, it smells pretty good. Number 18 is a fragrance that shot up massively year over year, massively. It is Invictus by Paco Rabanne, which I'm gonna give you one guess as to why that is. Go ahead, think about it. Think about it. Yeah, Invictus Parfum, because this counts as this as far as sales reports are concerned, because Invictus, with a different concentration, is still Invictus, at least as far as this is concerned. And it took Invictus from a fragrance ranking about 40th or so in the US to 18th. Number 17 is a massive surprise. Legitimately insane. It's Azzaro, the most wanted Intense. The first time I saw the sales data, I saw the most wanted Intense, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah. Eau de Parfum Intense, right. But that's not what it is, it's this one. Brand new for 2024, the most wanted Intense, listed as a fougere, not an ambery fragrance, so yes, indeed this. Which Azzaro, I am sure, is extremely pleased with to launch that fragrance and have it do as well as obviously it did. But this is one of those circumstances where if you just listen to the fragrance community side of things, maybe you would be like, I probably did whatever. No, it did well. Like, surprisingly, really well. And then one slot above that, 1 million. Which, what can we say about 1 million, right? The classic fragrance, been out forever, still crushing it. Although year over year, it did technically fall, because in 2023, for the entire year, sales data, that one was like just outside the top 10, and now it's just outside the top 15. I'm gonna share with you guys another fragrance that fell quite a lot, and that is Phantom by Paco Rabanne. So we got Paco Rabanne, Paco Rabanne, Paco Rabanne, Phantom. It fell about 13 spots year over year, completely out of the top 30. So that's one thing to keep your eyes on, is the Phantom line. How do they approach it now? Or do they just go, let's move on to something else? Because it is not keeping up with the other Rabanne fragrances right now. Top 15 now, the first one, Armani Code, which technically fell year over year, just like 1 million. It's another one that's a classic at this point, and it does have the eau de parfum as well as the eau de toilette counted in the sales. It's a classic just like 1 million, and Armani Code does technically have the eau de toilette, the eau de parfum, and the parfum. So while obviously it's still selling extremely well, very, very popular, when you consider that, it's not maybe doing quite as well as some of the other ones here. Although technically it is above them, so I guess it is. In 14th, the only niche fragrance in the top 30 bestsellers, Aventus, which pretty much is standing pat. It's like 1 spot down from last year, so about the same. But again, it is the only niche fragrance that made the list, so Aventus right there. Number 13, Dolce & Gabbana's Light Blue, down 1 spot. Of course, now they have the new styling here, so we'll have to see long term how much that changes things for the positive or the negative, or if it's just pretty much the same as it always has been. For now though, the summer staple just outside the top 10, which year over year, that's pretty much where it was. I think it's also down like 1 spot. Number 12 is a fragrance that moved up from about 25th the previous year, now just outside the top 10. It is a flanker, so a standalone fragrance. It's the only one counting towards these sales numbers. Born in Roma, Intense, which based off of those sales numbers makes this one the most successful Born in Roma flanker, the best seller. Of course, they have other big ones out there, Coral Fantasy, Yellow Dream, Green Stravaganza, everybody knows those, but Intense is the best seller, at least through 2024, which I guess Green Stravaganza didn't really count as much, but whatever. You know, release dates and all that stuff. I say that because Green Stravaganza came out in 2024, so it didn't have the full year, but also, to be fair, neither did that, so. And the next one, just outside the top 10, was the biggest mover up of the entire year. It jumped 47 spots from 2023 to 2024, as far as sales numbers goes. Le Mans Elixir, which I guess puts to rest forever which one of these is better, huh? This one sells more. That means it's better, right? Gonna be people out there like, no! But yeah, Elixir has outsold Le Parfum, at least for 2024, in the US, so it's pretty specific, but it's still technically true. And in the United States, those two are the best-selling JPG fragrances. So none of the Le Beau fragrances, none of the Scandal fragrances have outsold these in the US, and in actuality, these two in the US have outsold the original Le Mans as well for 2024. Let me give you two more fragrances that have dropped year over year. YSL L'Homme dropped 16 spots. And with that, you can really just look at the L'Homme lineup. It doesn't exist. They've not been doing flankers. They haven't really been pushing any of them. They've basically let the L'Homme line dry out and die out. So the sales are following that. The other one is K by Dolce & Gabbana, 18 spots down, which is unfortunate for Dolce & Gabbana because that was supposed to be the one that competed with Bleu de Chanel, right? Sauvage, why? And it started off with sales that were okay. You can go back and watch previous year's videos and see around about where it was, but obviously not doing so hot right now. Top 10, and number 10 is Guilty by Gucci. It is still, in the US, a top 10 best-selling fragrance, even though technically it did drop a little bit year over year. And this is one that always surprises a lot of people. People think that Guilty is just a failure, like nobody wears it or something. But in the US, this has been a top 10 best-selling fragrance ever since it came out. And I think now more than ever, it works just as well as when it first came out because it's got that kind of clean, you know, classy, orange blossom, white floral sort of vibe. And that's really popular right now, so it works. Number 9, in the exact same spot it was in last year, Sauvage Elixir. Because it is an elixir, it has its own entry. And as far as how much this stuff costs, it's doing really well because it's pretty much on the top end of designer pricing as far as like their main lines go. And this one is the best-selling elixir fragrance on the market. Number 8 is Valentino Uomo Born in Roma. The original Born in Roma is still doing extremely well. Actually, I think this is the first time it's in the top 10. The year before, it was like 5 or 6 spots lower. It's got staying power. This stuff, even though when it came out, you know, it got compared to Invictus and not in the greatest of ways. With time, a lot of people have come around to really enjoy this one. Has a nice minerality to it. Super wearable, versatile, big compliment puller, top 10 fragrance. Number 7, moving up 1 spot, Hero by Burberry. Again, with this one, eau de toilette, eau de parfum, you know the drill by now. Just saying it again. Classy, versatile, woodsy fragrance, very modern. Another one, easy to wear. And a magnetic cap. Number 6, just outside the top 5, Y by YSL. Notice that Y Elixir is not in the top 30. Sauvage Elixir is in the top 10, which kind of lets you know which of those elixirs won out, as I just pointed out before anyway. I will be interested to see where the new Bleu de Chanel falls, like the L'Exclusif. Kind of intrigued. I'm wondering if it cracks this top 30 or if it's somewhere down there. With Y, it's gonna be the eau de toilette and the eau de parfum. Eau de parfum intense, Le Parfum, those don't count towards this at all. So this is basically the EDT and the EDP. And before we hop into the top 5, the next fragrance that I wanna share with you guys that dropped a lot year over year, Y Le Parfum. Yeah, couldn't get that out without laughing. It fell 28 spots. And this one is interesting for a couple reasons. They came out with the new Y Le Parfum this year, 2025. And that huge drop off, I mean massive drop off year over year, means one of two things. Either the bottom completely fell out of Y Le Parfum, which is why they came out with the new version, or they silently discontinued it through 2024, and then it became harder and harder to find at retail, which is why the sales data dropped out because they knew that they were coming out with 2025, and so they were silently just kind of like rolling it back. That's really the only two options, because that drop was massive from 2023 to 2024 as far as how many bottles of White Le Parfum were sold. And then the final massive drop I want to share with you, Ralph's Club, which makes sense when you consider that this year Ralph's Club has started to pop up at discounters for like 25, 30 bucks. It fell 28 spots year over year. And that also could be why this year they changed things up and they went with Ralph's Club New York. Just kind of this whole new vibe compared to what the original Ralph's Club fragrance had been. All right, into the top 5. Number 5 is Myself by YSL. And one thing I want to point out here with this fragrance in 5th place, this is the only one counting towards those sales. Every fragrance that comes after this one has an eau de toilette, an eau de parfum, and a parfum. So Myself and Born in Roma are kind of really standing out. I guess Sauvage Elixir also, right? Because it's not exactly fair, it's not exactly apples to apples when you have this fragrance coming in 5th, but it's standing alone, and then all of the ones coming after it have multiple fragrances within a line that are on there. Moving on to number 4, Acqua di Gio, which Myself moved up year over year. Acqua di Gio slid down just a little bit, just like 1 spot. And everybody here knows I love Acqua di Gio. I've been wearing this stuff forever. It smells amazing. I love the eau de toilette. I love the parfum. The eau de parfum is good too. I think if I were only gonna pick 2, it'd be the Profundo and the parfum, but I'll always have the eau de toilette just because of all the memories. Number 3, this fragrance moved up 2 spots year over year, Eros. So this is the eau de toilette, the eau de parfum, and the parfum, not energy or flame. Sometimes people sleep on just how popular this stuff is, because for the longest time, people were like, oh, Eros is a club fragrance, People wear this literally everywhere, all day, every season. And with that said, we are at the top 2. What could it be? Of course, Drakkar. Okay. It's not that. Of course, it's Drakkar Noir.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Okay, it's not that, I admit. Number 2, Bleu de Chanel. Obviously, fantastic showing. Any company would like to have the sales numbers of this. It's very, 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 very high. But it did not beat number 1, which is Sauvage. Again. In the United States, Dior Sauvage reigns supreme year after year after year after year after year after year. And when you combine this with Elixir, obviously it gets even further into 1st place, which is why, like I said, I'm so interested to see what happens with the new Bleu de Chanel. Where do those sales numbers fall? And with that, you now know the top 30, no questions asked, no qualms, data-backed, best-selling, most popular fragrances across the entire year of 2024, heading into this year, which obviously I don't have the data for this year because it is still this year. Some of these moved up, some of these moved down, others fell just way over there. But if you have ever wondered, what are actual people buying? Like, what is actually moving at all of these stores? This. And if you're wondering, were sales up year over year, 2024 versus 23, were they down? They were up over 10%. So a pretty big leap when you consider how much money that actually is year over year. Super long video, I'm sorry for the length, but there was just so much stuff to go over. There you go. I want to thank you guys for hanging with me. European numbers coming up soon. And when it comes to Europe, some of the countries are wearing vastly different stuff. Germany, you guys are insane. I love you guys. Looking at the Germany stuff, I was just like, what are you guys doing? I love it. It's just like, it's unhinged. Thank you guys so much. Stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. See you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.